Good morning, y'all. It's another TLC Tuesday. Today, I'm going to talk about something that I kind of covered a little bit, but I didn't really get too deep into it when we talked about trauma bonds. I'm about to talk about toxic relationships and abusive relationships, how to navigate them, how to deal with it once you leave, all the ups and the downs. So, how can you tell when a person is toxic or abusive? I would say everyone's different to a certain extent, but I was talking to a friend about this. It's almost like toxic people read out of this toxic manual. I call it How to Be Toxic for Dummies. You call it whatever you want to call it, but it's like they read out of this manual and they kind of do similar toxic things, but they are different in their own right. Like, I've dealt with numerous toxic people in my life, but they all do toxic shit differently, but it's almost the same principle behind it, if that makes sense. Anyway, I'm rambling. The point is, you can tell when a person is toxic usually within the first 10 minutes of meeting them. If you pay enough attention to their mannerisms, the way that they talk to other people, and if they seem to have like a fake charm to them, like they seem almost too good to be true. A lot of really manipulative people are charming on the surface, but when you start to deep dive and ask them certain questions, you start to see like, oh, you're toxic. Like you might present to everybody and put on a mask that you're not, but you are. I've read a lot of different articles. One telltale sign somewhat of a toxic or abusive person is if you're in the car with them and they have bad road rage. Now, I will say, and not only bad road rage, but they drive erratically. I will say, I think a lot of people, or a lot more people than you might realize, do have a little bit of road rage, or to a certain extent, but it depends on how deeply they go into it. Like, are you just getting mad and yelling? Are you putting down your window and flipping the bird? Are you ready to get out of the car and fight? Like, and do you drive erratically? Like, are you the cause of why you have to flip people off? Because you're driving real erratically and they're trying to navigate around you. Like, that's one telltale sign. If they talk about their ex a lot, like, it's one thing to bring up, like, hey, this is where I'm coming from. This is what I don't want. Whatever. That's normal. But I mean, if they are just bashing their ex to you, telltale sign, they're probably not over the ex. And if they are over the ex, there's something to it. They might not be telling the full story. So they're making their ex look way worse than what they really are. So that way you automatically don't have that many questions any further. You're just there to assume that the ex is toxic, and boom, there's that kind of explains it away for most people. Start to ask the question of, well, what's their side? You say they're terrible, you say they're toxic, but what were you doing? How were you in the relationship? People will tell you what they want you to hear and what they want you to believe, and then over time you will start to see the reality of it. What do their friendships look like? Do they find it important to have a lot of friends? I think that a lot of healed people realize that it's better to have good quality friends than a lot of friends. A lot of toxic people, they care about an appearance. So if it looks like I have a lot of friends, then it looks like I'm a good person. So maybe question it if they have a lot of friends, like a whole list of friends, but not one good quality friend. Quantity over quality, always. How do they talk about their family members? How do they talk about their mother? How do they talk about their father? Now, I understand that a lot of people experience trauma in their childhood, so that might shape the way that they talk about their mother and their father. But just keep an eye on how they talk about their family, because there are a lot of people that will put their own family against them and then villainize the family and victimize themselves, when the reality is they're the monster and the family saw it and the family doesn't want anything to do with it, and they're allowed to make that decision. Just because you're blood with somebody does not mean you have to put up with everything that they do. Keep that in mind. Okay, moving on. Once I know I'm dealing with a toxic person, what do I do? And oh, by the way, there are so many other telltale signs. How do you guys disagree? Communication. Communication is one of the most important things in a relationship. If they cannot communicate, like you guys get into some sort of disagreement about something and they cannot communicate, they are probably a toxic person. They are probably there's a whole lot of healing that needs to be done. I don't think that communication is simple. I don't think that communication is something that just comes naturally to people. I think that if you have issues with communication, you have to be willing to work through them. To live on this earth, you have to be able to communicate some way, somehow. So if a person struggles with communication, take that as a huge red flag and decide in that moment, what am I going to do? Okay? Yeah. Back to what I was saying. Once you know, what do? You got to decide, do I like or love this person so much that I want to deal with them being toxic, or do I want to live a happy, healthy life? And that's the question that you're going to ask. Because if the person is genuinely toxic, I do not believe that you can have both. Now, sometimes toxic people evolve into more healed versions of themselves and they become better for you. But does that happen while you're in a relationship with them and they're toxic? No. 9 times out of 10, no. Because they can continue to be toxic while you put up with it, meaning they don't need to change anything. So do with that what you will. Are you having trouble leaving? You want to leave and you are having issues with it. Now, obviously this portion of the video is only for people that want to leave. If you don't want to leave, you could probably pause this and skip on or leave or whatever you got to do. But if you don't want to leave, this is pointless. But if you do want to leave, tune in real quick. For me, what made leaving possible was to build up a force field around myself. Get a therapist. Okay? First and foremost, get a therapist. Somebody that's an outside point of view that's going to be able to look at this without bias towards you, bias towards your partner, none of that. They can look at you as, I just now met you, and they can give you a good synopsis of, okay, this is what I'm seeing happening. They're not looking at it from your parents' point of view, where your parents love you and they want you to be happy and they want the best for you and they feel as though they know what's best for you. Your therapist is not there to know what's best for you. They're there to listen. They're there to filter, and they're there for you to kind of figure it out for yourself. But to have that outlet and that certified ear to say, okay, maybe you could go about this way, or maybe you could do this. So yes, get a therapist. Make sure that you have some real friends around you. Make sure you have friends that are willing to tell you the truth and also willing to be compassionate and go easy on you. Trying to leave a toxic relationship is not an easy thing to do. It's not something to be taken lightly. And if you don't have a support system of people that can kind of be there to be like, look, this is what it is. You need to leave, but I'm going to be here with you every step of the way. And if it's really hard for you to do that, I'm just going to be here to listen. I'm going to be here for a shoulder to cry on. Sometimes as a friend, you have to be that shoulder to cry on, and you have to shut up. You don't need to give any advice. You just need to listen. I've had to learn to do that. My father's had to learn to do that. Sometimes when a person comes to you with a problem, they just want to vent. And it might help if you say, hey, I want to vent. Okay. Why is it so hard to leave? It kind of goes back to that thing I was talking about last week with the trauma bond. Another reason is because you do have good times with a toxic person. And those times, if you are a sentimental person, if you care about people, you're compassionate, you are empathetic, which a lot of toxic people feed on empathetic people because they can get the most out of them. They can get the most bang for their buck out of an empathetic person. You're going to miss them. You're going to also remember that you have made mistakes in your life, and you may have been where that person is, and that may be why you were attracted to them in the first place, and why they were attracted to you. But you have to remember that you had to take steps in order to become who you are today, and they're going to have to take steps as well to become who they need to be. Not for you, for themselves. And it should not take you having to be broken down in order for them to get there. But as long as they're in your path, you're going to keep getting broken down. You're not alone. Okay? I think a lot of us females, we tend to forget where we came from, in the sense that we will go through a toxic situation, and then we will look at other females that are in toxic situations that may be worse than ours, maybe even a little bit less toxic than ours. And then we sit there and we chastise them. And I don't understand why. Because you were there before. Most of us as females have been there before. Maybe it wasn't to the level of Krishan and Blueface, but we were there before. So don't pretend like you forgot. Be compassionate towards each other. And understand you're not alone. There are a lot of women that are in your position or worse with a toxic situation, and they're wishing to be in your shoes, and you're wishing to be in theirs, and all this and all that. And the reality of it is, you need to give each other grace. No matter how far you are along in that healing process, give yourself and each other grace. There are resources, and there are people out there that do understand you. There are support groups. There are newsletters that you can have sent to you every single morning that will remind you to keep going on along this fight. You can reach out to me. Shoot. And no, I'm gonna get into that in a minute. It's okay not to be strong enough to leave yet. It is okay to know that you need to leave and not be strong enough to do it yet. And you may have friends, and this is where it gets dicey, because when you involve your friends in what you got going on, you tell them what's up, they start to get a little tired of it. They get tired of you coming to them with the same problem. They keep bringing you the same solution. They've run out of energy and a solution for you. That's okay. Okay? If you're that friend, that's okay. Just try to take a deep breath and remember, even if you're not that person that's willing to put up with what this person is putting up with, someone in your family has, someone you know has, and it's not easy. It may be simple for you in your head. It's not easy. So when your friends do that, understand they're coming from a good place. But as a friend, at least just listen. If you don't have any advice, just hear them out. Because it sucks to feel alone in this type of battle. And there are people that lose their friends over this type of stuff. And I hate to see it. Because I've been in both positions. I've been the one that's being abused, and been the friend that got to a point where my friend said, you know what? You're starting to blow me with this shit. Like, you keep doing it every day. I'm cool. All positions are understandable. Just, you know what I mean? If and when you finally decide to leave, here's what you need to expect from yourself. This shit's not about to be easy. This shit's not about to be pretty. It's not about to be fun. And it's just not, okay? It's a grieving process. When you lose a person, you break up, whatever happens, you have to grieve that loss, even if they don't leave this earth. So, it's going to hurt. There's going to be days where you want to reach out. There's going to be times where you feel like nobody can hear you or understand you better than the person that put you in this position to begin with. And I just want to tell you, just wait it out one more day. Give it one more day. And once you hit that next day, give it another day. Give it another day. Keep going, no contact. Each day that you tell yourself, yeah, I want to reach out, but I'm going to give it another day, that's another day of you healing. That's another 24 hours for you to heal and for you to realize who you are, realize what your worth is, that you do deserve better, you will find better, and life goes on. There are plenty of fish in the sea, and I know the dating pool is filled with piss. So when you hear plenty of fish in the sea, you don't always think rainbows and butterflies. I get it. Just understand life does continue. Now, as far as the person that you're leaving behind, if it's a truly toxic situation, it's not going to be easy for you from their end either, because they're not going to just leave you alone. They're not just going to say, oh, okay, cool. They might get violent with you. They might get real abusive. And if you go no contact or you block their number, they might go full-on stalker mode on you. I'm just being honest. I'm not about to sit here and pretend like, oh, it's easy. Either way, no, it's not. They're not going to leave you alone. That being said, you have to be very strong. Change your phone number. I know. I don't want to do that. That's crazy. I should not have to change my phone number. This person should stop harassing me. You are so correct, but toxic people don't think like that. Change your number. If it does get violent, or it does get to a point where threats are being made and things are starting to feel a little, I'm feeling it's dicey. Do not be afraid to be a snitch. I get so many people, oh, well, I just don't want to snitch. I'm not a snitch. Unless you live the street life, like you're really a gangbanger, I don't know what you're worried about being a snitch for, because it's either you snitch or your life could be at stake. These are not people that are just willing to like walk away and like, oh, okay, no. There are people that will take you up out of here because you don't want to be with them anymore. Take it seriously. Understand that you are more important than being a snitch. Okay? Do what you need to do. Get a restraining order. Let the local police know you want somebody to patrol near your house. Get a camera. Get a dash cam too. If they are the type of person to do stuff to you, get a dash cam. All of it. Protect yourself. You are more important than any of that other shit. You will reach the end of the tunnel. You've got this. Give yourself grace. Give each other grace. And have a wonderful TLC Tuesday.